Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel Tech with KG. We're gonna have Stop the FOMO on in a little bit, and we might even be joined by Keep It Classy Tech. But we're just here chatting up about TVs, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys. It's definitely been a crazy week with TVs, and there's a lot to talk about. So, how's everybody doing today? Let me know in chat if you guys are having a good day or not. Looks like we got Michael in here. What's up, Michael? Welcome to the chat. Brian T, good to see you again, sir. Everybody doing good, hopefully. So yeah, if you guys haven't heard, the LG QNED is starting to be released to the stores all over, and that's one of the TVs that we're all kind of looking forward to, all kind of looking after. Is it gonna come anytime soon to stores? It's looking like it is. You could already order it from Best Buy, so that's a good sign. Um, Caleb over at Digital Trends, he had his review, but he didn't. It didn't end up going good at all because he had a damaged unit. Looked to have some pretty bad DSE, so that's really not a great sign. Um, so I don't know. Let's see. I don't know, guys. That's just a really bad sign. But you can't really take it as too much because it is just, it's one sample, it's one review. And I heard a lot of people saying that this is a bad sign for LG, but I don't agree. I think we all gonna have to wait and see what happens with the LG QNED. Let me know in chat, are you guys excited about LG QNED or not? Or is this something that you guys are just kind of not really excited about? Let me know. All right, let's see. If you guys have any questions, while we're waiting for people to roll in, now is the time to kind of get them in before there's more people in asking questions. Here we got Keep It Classy Tech coming in. Let's see. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, goodness. Hey, good to see you, man.
All right, shoot, hang on, my sound is all messed up.
Oh, no problem. So I was hoping the QNED 90 would have a better processor, says Brian T. You know, I was hoping the same thing, and it's kind of a
There we go.
disappointment that it doesn't. But I don't know how much of a difference it really makes. It probably has some sort of difference on the processor, but I'm not sure. What's your take on that, Classy? With the 90
Uh,
having a different
I'll
processor?
find out in a few days.
Yeah, that's
the,
right. You,
the
you are getting that, huh?
yeah, I just I think the 99 has the better processor because it's 8K, has more to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
But the 4K OLEDs have the better processor as well. So I don't know. We'll see because compared to Sony, I would say the processor is not that great anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I mean,
it is
not that it's not,
definitely
yeah, not that it's bad. Just making
right.
that
No,
clear.
yeah, of course not. It's not bad at all. See, that's the thing. Like a lot of people will say when you say something's good, they'll assume that the other thing is like really bad, but that's not the case at all for TVs, especially when you're at this high level of TVs. Um, we'll let you know if something's really bad. But for the most part, if we say something's better than the other, it's not like by a huge margin.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah,
I
I mean
mean,
it's good.
it's definitely noticeable. But it's not something that is a deal breaker, so to speak. You know?
Yeah, and it's like when I point out problems in reviews or whatever TV I'm looking at or something. You know, it's trying to find the problems so that the few people here or there that may see them knows that there's a problem. Not
Yeah.
that I'm like trying to find something just to hate on it or whatever. They're all at this point very good TVs. I mean, even the X90J, it's not the best, but it's certainly better than most.
Hmm. Yeah. He said, Spillage Village, says, this is pure speculation, but I think LG is forcing the upsell to the C1 and the G1 by only having two HDMI 2.1 ports on the QNED 90. I don't know if it's so much forcing the upsell. I think like maybe they're just limited on their chipset for those TVs.
I don't. In my opinion, it's they know they have serious competition with Samsung, and they have to try and keep it price competitive, and so
Yeah.
they're trying to penny pinch where they can in order to come in at a lower price. Because I mean, if you look, the 90 is only $2,000 at launch for 65 inch. It's 3,500 for the 8K. I mean, that's a almost double just for 8K, which is fairly meaningless at this point. And you also lose VRR with the 8K.
Yeah. And what are the chances that their chipset just doesn't work with LCD, you know?
Mhm.
And that could be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, going mini LED, like it's all new technology for them. It's an investment, and they have to watch their budget for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, the Digital Trends unboxing definitely left people kind of scratching their heads like, is there DSE on this panel? Is that why it's damaged? Or, you know, it definitely looks like it had some sort of screen uniformity issue. I don't know if it was just DSE because it was definitely like kind of like split up in different sections of gray. So like when you seen it off camera, it definitely looked really bad. So I don't think it was just regular DSE.
Yeah, the main thing I've seen some people miss in that video is early on when he's talking about the remote that it had batteries in it because someone else had it before him. So it's the box wasn't damaged. So it's very possible when they were boxing it back up, they laid it down on something and put too much pressure on the screen.
Yeah, yeah, he got it from LG, so it's
But
probably
yeah, it was
probably
from
just a
LG.
packaging issue. Yeah,
Before, like, whoever, there was probably someone somewhere testing it, whatever. Then it went to LG. Then it went to him.
gotcha. Okay, I see what you're saying. Let's see. Brian T says mostly watch movies and streaming, casual gaming. Is the A80J 77-inch better than the LG C1 83-inch? Can't buy until November, so hoping for C1 83-inch discounts. Well, it's going to be the size difference, right? Like, I think that's what it's going to come down to. You can't really say an 83-inch is going to be better than a 77-inch. That's really hard for either of us to say, I think, because I think I tend to go towards like bigger is usually better when it's that close.
Yeah. So in those sizes, it's guaranteed the new panel on both. And something too that, like if you look at a lot of the reviews for the A80J, they are in the 55 and 65 inch, and pretty much every review I've seen, they have had the older panel.
Yeah.
Now we all know LG with the C1, the ones that have the newer panel are being software restricted to match performance of the older panel. Sony's not really doing that. Sony's letting the panel do what it can, and that's why the 77 A80J is brighter and very close to the A90J. And then on top of that, the smaller sizes of the A80J has the different screen coating and different calibration from the factory, different white point. I mean, it's literally at the point that I don't know if I would recommend the A80J 55 or 65 over the LG, but when it comes to 77, if it's the A80J versus the C177, I would. But when you add in the size difference for the C1, then it's kind of the same thing. LG on the bigger sizes is using, closer to D65, not an alternate white point. And, I've been talking with Ninjishin a lot that it seems this year, not only do we have different panels, we have different sizes to worry about. So there's not really much consistency in them.
Right. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. It does seem like the 77-inch A80J has the same sort of finish as the C1 and the A90J. So, that's something to consider for sure. And here we are joined by Stop the FOMO. Welcome, Stop the
Guys,
FOMO. How you
sorry
doing,
I'm a little
man?
late. How y'all?
Pretty
Good.
good. Better late
All
than
right.
never,
Yeah, and I can't stay too long either. It's just
No problem.
crazy Friday. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing
Right.
good.
Hey, did you ever figure out the frame matching thing on your Apple TV?
I haven't dug too much into it just yet, but I will look into it. I usually turn on match content just because I don't want to force the HDR. So
So you can't toggle the motion separately from the HDR Dolby Vision thing?
Maybe you can. I don't. I thought they were tied together, but I have to
Maybe
look
they
into
are.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used Apple TV in so long, so
If I recall, there was match frame rate and match content, and so you had both.
see, so you could separate them, right? If that would help a lot.
Okay. I didn't know that. I'll have to look into it.
That was on the newer one that I was testing anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
just
right.
got
You
the
love
newer
it so
one, so-
much. Or Classy, at the end, what's your verdict? Are you getting it or no?
Well, in its launch state, no, but I've heard that the updates have fixed some of the voice issues. So I'm giving them a couple more months to get new firmware, see how it is once it's matured a bit, and then do
Fair
a
enough.
retest.
Cool deal.
Did you happen to hear our discussion right before you joined about the A80J?
No, I was busy finishing up my budget not 80 X80J comparisons. So, and then my subwoofer came. I had to go out and help the FedEx people bring it in, and it was a mess. But yeah, what's up with the A80J?
All right, so like yesterday, I saw one of your comments was talking about the 77 A80J and the different screen coding. I was trying to point out that there's a whole lot more difference with the 77 than just the screen coding, because we all know LG on the C1s, if you have the newer panel, they software lock it to be like the older panel.
Yeah.
On Sony, the 77 A80J guaranteed new panel. It seems they let it go. They let. That's why the 77 looks really close to the 890. That's why I was measuring like around 900 nits on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's, in my opinion, I don't know if the A80J at 55 and 65 is worth it over a C1, but in the 77, definitely.
That is a good point, because obviously I don't have the 77 now. Does this change your decision, guys, though? Because I know you have the G1, you're a gamer. Maybe it doesn't change your decision, but how about you, KG? Are you in the market for a 77-inch?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm in the market for a 77-inch. Whether or not it changes my decision, I don't know. Like I'm still on the fence. I guess it's really gonna come down to like what's cheaper and then what's like, I don't know, more reasonable at the time. I'm kind of like a penny pincher when it comes to buying my TV. I'm looking for the best deal possible, but also at the same time, it's gotta fit my needs too.
Yeah.
So like I love the HDMI 2.1 switch, right? Like I love that that's out there now and it works pretty
Oh
good.
yeah, you've been
right?
testing it. So far
Yeah.
so good, right?
Yeah, it works.
Wow.
I haven't had any issues with it. And it's still not 4 ports though. That's the thing. Like
true.
when and you're still pushing a button to switch ports and it's like
Yeah.
you still have something tied into it. But it is nice that it's out there and it exists. So you're not
Well,
tied down to that.
what surprised me is that LG, being LG, I had expected 4 ports on the QNET 90, not the 99, right? But like, hey, what? So
We were talking
And-
about
yeah.
that, and I wonder if it's like just something that is available on OLED. Like it's just something that is kind of
you know what?
made
I
for
think
OLED.
it's tied to the Alpha chip, because last year is the same. Isn't the B10 also only 2 ports, but it's also a cut down Alpha chip as well? And I'm just throwing this out
I'm
there.
not
I
sure.
think when they cut down the Alpha chip, they also cut down the number of 2.1 ports. I think, because I think last year the difference between the B10 and the C10 is the number of 2.1s, if I'm not mistaken, other than brightness, and it may be tied to the chip, but it makes sense because the QNET 99 is the higher end chip. It has 4 ports, but LG, interestingly, again, did not enable VRR for their 8K. And I think it's just very hard to do VRR for their LCD TVs, because you guys know it's hard doing LCD VRR. And it's 8K with that as well. So I can see why they disabled the 8K version of VR. They don't want to deal with it. But it does have 4K 120, which could be good
Yeah.
enough for most people anyway.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. We got a super chat from Buddy 305.
Hi, Buddy Love.
He said,
Yeah.
"Hello, fellows. I'm back in the U.S."
Where'd he
Welcome
go?
back."
Anyone know?
Yeah. Where did you go?
Tijuana?
Let us know. Yeah. Hey, let us know in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the things we were talking about earlier was the whole issue with the ports,
Hmm.
and it's definitely like a head scratcher. Maybe it's something LCDs just can't do yet. Maybe that's why we don't have four ports anywhere. Like I don't know why that would be with the chipsets that they use, but again, I'm not an engineer, so I don't really
Well,
know.
Samsung has 4 ports. They just chose not to install it outside
Right.
of the One
Yeah,
Connect. So I
right.
think it's their product strategy is how do we get you to pay a little more? Because there is no way an additional 2 ports is going to cost you that much. But I know in Europe, to upgrade to the One Connect version of Q98 is, I don't know, $500. I mean,
Hmm.
wow, really? How much is
Yeah.
a Switch? I mean, it's like it's
Right.
it's it's noticeably more expensive. Now maybe that was at launch and it got better now, but my understanding is it's you're paying quite a bit for that One Connect box.
I would
yeah, I
probably
was.
pay that though. Like just because you get a invisible wire, that little
Hmm.
small wire, and that's really handy if you're mounting your TV, which I'm surprised they got rid of that in the States. But yeah, sorry, Classy, you were saying something?
No, I was going to tell Fema earlier. I was saying that I wondered if, because this is LG's first time with mini LED, and they just made an investment and they
Hmm.
need it to sell well, and it has to compete with Samsung. They got a penny pinch to bring that price as good as they can.
Mhm.
And
I
also, if you look at
agree. Yeah.
Samsung, you see them with one port. You look at LG, they at least have two.
I'm not complaining, believe me.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if you put a switch on each of those, does that become 4 ports?
Mm-hmm.
It may, I don't know if it'll disable the eARC, but if you put in both ports, right, and I think one of them could be the eARC port, you technically have 4 ports on the LG. What?
Yeah.
How much was it? How much was that switch? $50 or
Yeah,
25?
it's less.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It's
50
less than
bucks.
50.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's a great
Mm-hmm.
price.
And then back to the A80J for a second. So if you look at ratings reviews on the C1 and the G1 and the A80J, the C1 and the A80J, they have the older panels. The G1 has the newer panel, obviously. Their color volume is higher on the G1. So is that new panel giving more color volume? And does that mean the 77 A80J has more color volume than the smaller sizes?
Yeah.
Because
I
Hmm.
wait, that's right. It's too bad. Ratings doesn't review 77-inch TVs. I
nope.
would think so. And Sony knows that it needs to push the color volume, right? They want
Mm-hmm.
that saturation almost. But that's kind of cool though. I mean, not this year, but I would say this time next year, the A80J should be a pretty compelling price because Sony tends to hang on to their OLEDs quite a while and they discount it heavily. Like this year, what was it? The A8H? I mean, they just dropped it and dropped it until they got rid of all of it, right? So that's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
Yeah. Nah, and then Classy, I know you're getting the QNED 90 yourself, right? And
Yep.
B is getting
Scheduled for
the
Tuesday.
99.
Yep.
That's what I heard. Cool.
So,
News.
we're predicting right now that the 99 may be better image quality, but the 90, if you're a gamer, is the one to get because of the VRR.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and also the $2,000 versus $3,500 for the 65 inch. And that's massive
Yeah.
difference.
Hey, 1500 is another what a U8G you could throw in the
Right.
bedroom, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
literally a second good TV, not just. I mean, by this time, maybe 2 months from now, X95J could be 1500 because
Yeah.
they're launching at quote unquote possible 1800. You know, the holidays they'll discount it 1600 maybe.
Or the 90 86 inch is $4,000, only 500 more than the 65.99.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that price difference is so weird to me. It is so weird. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. And then like the fact that you can go out and buy like a 77-inch OLED for the price of a 65, like it better be really good quality. Like it
Well, you
better
saw
knock my socks off with that
what
quality.
they did with the
But
last year's 8K Samsung. They just
Yeah.
dropped it and dropped it, and then suddenly the 75-inch was under 3,000. Like, whoa, hey, I only had
Yeah.
to wait a year. So
It was
wait a year.
$27.99 with
Yeah.
a $500 gift card for a 75-inch 900 T.
So
Like, wow.
actually, here's a question for you, KG.
Yeah.
This time next year, the 75-inch 8K QNED 99. Let's assume it's pretty good,
Mhm.
or let's assume it's better than the QN90A.
Yeah.
Would you go for it at a similarly discounted price?
Oh, for sure. I was trying to get the 900T. I just couldn't find it. It
Yeah,
was just
that's
out
what
of,
I'll
yeah.
quick. Yeah.
I was like, I would get that because I like the Q90T. So like, I would get a
All
75
right.
inch for that price. That's a really
Good
good deal.
times. Good times for flagship buyers, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, I think like if you could just wait 1 year, you can maybe snag
Yeah.
some pretty good deals. Like I even seen like the Z9 at some was like Best Buy down the street, like was like 3,000 for the 75 inch for the
Mhm.
Z9 F, was it? The Z9. I can't remember what model number it was, but it's their 8K model, the Sony one. Yeah.
You want to put up Brad Smith's question? Do console gamers need VRR?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do console gamers need
Need.
VR? Like need is a good
The
word,
word
right?
need.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys ever had tearing or stuttering that you
Yeah.
think VRR would fix?
Oh, for sure.
So for consoles, it's only the Xbox at this point. So if let's just change that to Xbox Series X.
Mhm.
And the only time that I have seen it be like really, really helpful is that new Pirate's Life update for Sea of Thieves. Like the base game has been fine, but that update has horrible performance. Everyone that plays it sees massive amounts of screen tearing.
Ah,
Like literally, you just load into that expansion, you
Okay.
just start moving around, you see screen tearing everywhere. And that is like the first time where the VRR has really helped, and that's because there's just massive frame drops. So even though,
Mhm.
even with the VRR, the frame rate drops so much, you can still kind of tell a little bit because it's going from 120 down to like 70.
So the answer is getting a PS5 saves you grief because you can really get any TV and enjoy it. Getting a Series X, you have to spend a little more or do your research, which is fine because Series X people, I mean, I'm generalizing, but they're enjoying the specs and they're going to dig into the specs, right? So
Or-
that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
My preferred solution is set the Series X to 120 hertz TV output, but set the game to 60 FPS.
that work.
So
That
that
way
would
you-
even, lock it. You're locking the game. Well, so in that Sea of Thieves update,
Hmm.
are you able to do that?
Yeah, you can go in Sea of Thieves and set it to 60 or 120,
Uh-huh.
but you can have the system output 120 hertz signal all the time, so you get lower input lag at the very least.
Okay. I think you could solve the tearing.
Yeah.
Oh, that works.
I think console gamers will eventually want VR. I'm not saying they need it right now, but as games get more advanced and we start to see more 120 hertz games that are unlocked, then maybe yes. But it's definitely more of a PC gamer thing because like you have unlocked frame rates and it's
Right.
all over the place. And like Classy was saying, like I can get Sea of Thieves to kind of tear on demand with that Maiden's Voyage like tutorial thing. Like it's just always tearing. So like if I want to go to and test, I'll make sure VRR is working right. I'll throw on VRR and go to that and see if it tears. And if it doesn't tear, I'll know VRR works. So that's kind of like my VRR test is the Sea of Thieves.
Yep. And then on the flip side of that, if you have LG OLED and you have VRR on and you play that specific expansion, it's really dark, and then you just see the flickering and flashing just all over the place.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good stress test for sure.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Did you want to talk about something, FOMO, while you're
Oh,
here?
yeah. We talked about it earlier. Okay. Olympics is here, and it may be too late for some people. Olympic watching TVs. People are upgrading for the Olympics. They don't want to spend too much. What are your suggestions and considerations for buying a new TV to watch the Olympics? And your TV is over 10 years old. So this is a great time to buy a new TV. What are your thoughts? So, I mean, I'm just thinking aloud. I'm thinking SDR, motion, and maybe that's it. Maybe they don't need dimming zones. So
Um,
I don't know, a Sony A80J. It's only 60 hertz, but is it good enough for broadcast TV? What are you guys thinking?
so I would just group that in with my typical sports
Yeah.
recommendations,
Mm-hmm.
which is you want a clean panel, wide viewing angles, very bright SDR, and right now, if you can still get the 950H, it's probably the best.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I was
absolutely.
thinking too.
Very good response. Yeah, I like that.
Because isn't it still like around $2,000 for the 75-inch, something like that?
If it's still out, is it still out? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you can still find it from time to time.
yeah. I saw some of the comparisons, from the China review of the X95J. I'm telling you that 950H, you take out the lifted blacks, and not every scene will show it. Man, that thing is as good as the X95J. Maybe the brightness is a little here and there, right? But overall, that's a solid TV. So yeah, I think for most people upgrading from a 10-year-old TV, the 950H is going to look great. And Dolby Vision looks great across the board too.
Yeah. And I guess for a more budget option, the X80J seems like a pretty good TV.
I've
for what
been
it
liking
is.
the 50-inch TVs. So that's another thing, right? A lot of
Oh,
people
okay,
remind
yeah.
me, hey, don't forget the 50 inches of VA. The 85J is the 4K 120 VA version. So it shows, right? You go, wow.
Right.
And so the 50-inch 80J and the 50-inch 85J, like what, a couple $100 apart. I go, you know, it's, you could tell. So I guess the
Right.
VA panel is more expensive than some people think, or they just want to make sure you pay up for the upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really going to come down to motion, and Sony does motion probably the
Yeah,
best of any
that's-
TV, especially at the lower end too. Like they do a
Yeah.
good job at the lower end for motion. So
Definitely. I was pretty impressed what they did with the 60 hertz panel. I honestly thought that it would be, you know, a little bit worse than the other two TVs, the Q60A, and no, now we're talking. I'm not talking the high speed motion. I only looked at the movie motion, the 24p anti-jitter, anti-stutter. The Sony was spot on. I was very disappointed. The U6G does not have any motion processing. It is what it is, right? So that's something a lot of people have to.
that is really weird. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard it is, right? But yeah. And it's a 120 hertz panel. Like, wait, you have a 120 hertz panel? You won't let me do anything?
Yeah, it
Nothing.
seems like a waste.
Would be.
Some questions there for sure why they did that. But like you're saying about the X95J, that they had the Chinese review that came out on it. I'm very disappointed by what I'm seeing off of that. Like, I know you got to be let down by that, right? You got to.
Okay, so forget the 95J. I was let down from the 950G to the 950H. So
Right.
for the 950G to 950H, that was a total letdown. I would recommend the 950G over the 950H even today, right?
Mhm.
But the 950H and the 95J, that actually was a bigger improvement. XR
Yeah.
chip, darkroom processing, maybe VRR, but definitely 4K 120. So you have a few things that going from the 950H to 95J does give you, whereas going from the 950G to 950H, it only gave you wider viewing angle. But if you're sitting up front, the 950H was a better TV and brighter.
Right.
That was the other insult, right? Brighter, saturated colors. So I keep reminding myself, I'm only disappointed because I kept on thinking they'd have one more dimming zones, but they didn't. And that was the big letdown. Ever since the 950G and the 950H, I mean, they're just rolling the exact same backlit panel. Like, wow, Sony, you're really squeezing the profits out of this. So, yeah.
The question is, how much do you think they worry about like rating reviews? Because they
Yeah.
got a really good review last year with those 60 zones.
Mhm.
And they continue, and they will continue. So that's the thing, right? We, as a group, we're like, Sony, what are you doing? But they're selling. But then if you look at globally, Samsung is killing Sony. I mean, Sony's
Yeah.
falling behind, and I'm talking about LCD TVs. So I guess consumers are looking at Samsung, but I think a lot of that could be Samsung's marketing. I rarely see Sony market any TVs anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Their CES was so weird too. Like,
oh man, that was
that was like the weirdest thing. And I was already low on Sony going into the year from last year because like I thought they're 2018 to 2019 and 2020. Like it just was
Yeah.
like, what are you doing with your TVs? And then they saw CES and I was like, what is this kind of production?
that was like the worst CGI. I
no
have to
idea.
review that apart from the TVs.
Yeah.
But the production, I'm like, dude, this is like so low rent, man. It's like, you
Yeah.
make Hollywood cameras, you make Hollywood effects. I mean, everything is Hollywood pro level, and then you do this.
Yeah, it was bad.
So I was pretty disappointed. And Samsung, and then when you have it back to back against
Oh, I know.
Samsung,
Samsung
and even
killed
LG, right? It's
Yeah, Samsung killed it. Like they were like, this is the future, and then
like, no, I can see what they did.
yeah,
They went to the marketing department. Okay, I'm giving you $10,000. Like, what? Hey, do what you can. And then he got fired afterwards, right?
yeah, yeah. All right, here's a super chat from Matt Facer. Thank you for the super chat. He said he has between a 77 A80J and a 75-inch QN90A, which has better motion, crisp picture, and depth. And is the QN90A OLED-ish enough? And I want the best picture possible.
Man, this goes to what Classy was saying. Based on Classy's response earlier, where they're letting out the dogs on the A80J 77-inch. I think, even though I don't have either, I have the A90J and the QN98, but 65-inch versions, right? But if the A80J is so close to A90J and at the 77-inch is probably even that much closer, I prefer the A90J most of the time, but I always watch in the dark. The QN98 does come very close. I have to give them that. 90% of the scenes, but if you're asking for the best picture possible, well, it's the A90J. But then what is their use case, right? I mean, if he's gaming, then I'd go with the QN98 because at least it's got one working 2.1 point with VRR. So it's really hard to say, I'm sitting in the dark. This is my dedicated cinema TV. It's the A80J. But for mixed use, I'm fine with the 75-inch QN98. As a matter of fact, if it was my parents or my friends or whatever, and I know they have mixed use, I'd recommend the 75-inch QN98.
Yeah, man, like I loved both TVs. Like I really love both TVs. And better motion, I feel like the motion is pretty equal. I like both motion on the TVs.
Agreed.
As far as depth goes, like I feel like the A80J was probably the best depth that I've seen in picture quality. And that even goes further than the A90J sometimes. Like I don't know what it was, but the A80J just kind of felt like it had more depth to it at times. Because I felt like the brightness that the A90J was putting out kind of maybe did something to the picture level overall, to like the gamma. I don't know what it was, but it did seem like when they were side by side, the A80J just looked like it had more depth. And as far as the crisp picture goes, I don't think you get a crisper picture than Sony processing, honestly.
Yeah,
So-
selfie-emissive does make it. And don't forget, though, to get the QN98 to those same black OLEDs, you're crushing out the highlights.
Yeah.
But if you get the highlights up, suddenly you get lifted blacks. That's
Yeah.
will always be the compromise. So, and that's why I'd go with the OLED.
Yeah. And then for me, like KG was saying, the motion's pretty much a wash. Crisp picture, even if it wasn't the A80J or a Sony, if it was an LG OLED, just OLED in general is sharper than LCD. Depth is definitely OLED because of the higher contrast. And like, again, I'm getting a lot of crap for my QN90A review, even though it was positive.
It was good.
Wait. Why are they crapping on you? What was specific that you said that upset people?
Apparently, I'm biased towards OLED now.
Oh, who is it?
That's tough. Yeah.
It's I see. It's like I do like the QN90A, but you cannot turn off dynamic tone mapping, so it will not be accurate. Period. Like in HDR, it's going to lift those midtones.
It is.
And
yeah.
if you like that, go right ahead. I mean, sure, it looks good, but it's not accurate. And if that's what someone wants, then you can't get it. Whereas with the Sony or an LG or whatever, you can mess around with that stuff. You can turn dynamic tone mapping on and off. You can go for accuracy or, brighten the midtones and get the extra punch, whatever.
Yeah.
The Samsung just gives that extra average picture level brightness that OLED can't reach. And when it comes down to really fine HDR highlights, the QN90A, just like all LCDs, they lose brightness as the object gets smaller and smaller.
Yes.
So when you have really, really small stuff, OLED's going to be brighter on those really small objects.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing I noticed that Samsung started doing with their algorithm is when it is a bright object on a dark background, they really try. They try their hardest to eliminate blooming. So when they do that, you definitely lose some details. And it's kind of sad because it wasn't always like this. They used to have really like good highlights, and they started to change their algorithm a little bit
it's
so
the
that
blooming.
they see less blooming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
It's like
definitely the blooming.
ABL for blooming almost in a way for what they do. So
But then you have the U8G. I think the U8G is what you're saying is U8G wants it to be bright, and so it doesn't crush it, but it's slightly lifted. So you guys can't. Guys, meaning the QLED fans.
right.
Every TV has a purpose. It was designed specifically, but you're trying to get people who love watching OLED in a moderately lit room to
Yeah.
praise the QLED. It wasn't designed to beat
yeah.
OLED. It can't, right?
Right. It can't, but it gets pretty close. It does get pretty close.
Yeah, close.
And that's for sure. So if you are in like a pretty bright room in the daytime, and you do watch a lot in the daytime, like I'd probably go with the QN90A. But if you're in a dark room most of the time, it's no question. I would go for the A80J.
And if you're in a bright room, take it off of local dimming high, put it on standard, and then put your dynamic contrast, whatever, a bump it up one. Now That's what Samsung wants you to see. And it looks awesome, but the bright room is how it gets above that, because the slightly lifted blacks in the bright room, it's okay. It's not that bad, right? But yeah, that's
Right.
what I would do.
And then
Yeah.
the question too is, do you want a picture that varies? So do you want it to be excellent in this scene, not so great in this scene, or do you want it just to be good or very good all the time?
Right.
Was that in your last video? Because I know you were talking
One
about
of
the
them.
Classy, right?
Hey,
I'm with you on that. That's why I like the A9G. It's above average in everything, great in some, but never terrible.
mhm.
And I'd go with that.
Yeah. Thank you, TechMed Rainer Richter, for the super chat. Really appreciate you. Super sticker. I can't see the super sticker because I don't have this chat up, but I do love those super stickers. They look pretty cool. I wonder if they're gonna add more designs to those.
It's
one
a
day.
guy giving birth to a coffee cup.
Nice.
That's what it looks like to me. Like, what the hell's happening with that coffee cup? It's coming out of his belly button. Like, oh my god!
I could see it now. It's
Right.
it's really far back
Okay.
here, and then he pushes it way far in your face, so it goes from really small to really big.
Oh yeah. Yep. I see it. Oh, that's good.
Okay, hey, I just wanted to drop by. I'm sorry, I have to run. I gotta go to a family dinner, but I'll jump in whenever I can. So if you guys just share the link,
Mhm.
if I have to be available, I'll just jump on. I mean, I think that's something that's kind of cool with live streams, right? As long as you guys don't share it in the wrong forum, you got random people hopping on, it should be okay.
For sure.
All right, guys. So and I think, do we say tomorrow we're gonna have a live stream?
Yeah, I was just going to ask
Possibly,
you
something?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 6 Eastern? Right.
63 p. Yeah. It won't be too long, but we'll
They're on
think
past
of
the
something.
remote, right?
Past the remote. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, guys. Have a good day, good weekend, and later, all everyone. Talk to you
Thank
guys
you for
later.
stopping by, FOMO.
Anytime,
Yeah.
bud.
All right. Talk to
All
you
right, see
later.
you tomorrow. All right. So, do you want to talk about your latest video, Classy? You just put it up.
The Black Crush or the one before that?
Whichever one. I think you just put up a video. You might want to talk
All right.
about
Yeah.
it.
So I just put up earlier today. Previously, I had done a couple videos on what people call Black Crush, but it's where the near black is too dark. So the darkest grays are getting basically turned to black or darker than they should be. And just found some issues where if you were to use peak brightness on the LG OLEDs, then that previous fix just wouldn't hold up for that kind of settings. Or when the brighter you brought the image, then the values were different. So I spent a lot of time because a lot of people are wanting to fix it or mitigate it. And the downside is there's really no easy fix, and it also depends on the content. If you're someone who prefers to use HDR tone mapping turned on, then it's not an issue in HDR. If you
Right.
don't use that setting and you want it to be more accurate, then it's a problem. But the only real way to fix it is calibration. In SDR, you can turn up your screen brightness a little bit, but you need the right kind of patterns to do that. So it's more of just like a general guide on just different ways that you can try to adjust it to whatever looks good to you. But the main takeaway is if you want it to be fixed properly, it's going to have to be calibrated and by someone who knows really what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an easy fix, it seems like. I watched it and I was like, dang, that seems really like you kind of are like picking your battles on that one.
Yeah. And I mean, normally I go for accuracy, but in my videos over the last week or two and in the community section comments, the overwhelming majority of the responses has been that people don't care about accuracy and they want it to be brighter than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So for those people, again, you turn on HDR tone mapping or you use Cinema Home in Dolby Vision, or just bump up your screen brightness in SDR, and you kind of don't have a problem with it anymore. Again, it's not accurate, it's not ideal, but if people are going to be doing that anyway, then
Yeah.
it's not a problem for them.
Right.
And then game mode has multiple options for adjusting black level and stuff with the game optimizer.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear everybody in chat, like, what's your preference for that? Would it be you don't really care about the creator's intent so much, you just kind of want the best picture for yourself personally, or are you more on the accurate side of things? Because I know, like, I tend to kind of be somewhere in the middle. because like I'll sacrifice some creator intent as long as it's not too ridiculous. You know, like I'm not gonna go full blast vivid mode, you know, torch mode on everything. But you know, I tend to crank up some reality creation from time to time.
Mhm.
So like I'm somewhere in the middle with that. So I'm curious to see what everybody else thinks. Looks like we get some people say they're in the middle as well. Let's see. I know I saw a question here that I wanted to get to. Um, let's see. A really dumb question, guys. I got my Costco QN9DA. I love that. I love that they call it the QN9DA.
Mhm.
Um, and it looks great so far. No apparent panel uniformity problems. But I have no clue to tell if it's in HDR or SDR mode. So if you go to your picture settings, your picture mode settings, like if you cycle through the little circle dot, it'll say if it's in HDR. Um, if it's in HDR, it'll say HDR. If it's not in HDR, it'll just say like movie or standard. I'm pretty sure that's the only way to do it. Sometimes you can press the middle button and it'll tell you the info as well. Did you find any other way to pull that up or make it say that?
Um, I generally just go all the way over to the picture settings and then can tell by what settings are available.
Yeah.
Um, but also the with the naming at Costco,
Hmm.
it's not just the D makes it sound like 90.
Yeah.
When it's capitalized, it looks like it's a zero also.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
it's so clever. I don't.
mhm.
I was like, wow. They just can't believe they did that. Let's
Hmm.
see.
I'm just looking through the comments about your question, and
Oh yeah, I'm looking
yeah,
through
like I
them.
said, it's just overwhelming majority just wants it to look better to them, and I get that, especially because how many of you are actually in a perfectly dark room, that theater setup at your house, like,
Right.
and even then, if you are,
Right.
then do you want it to be accurate or do you still want it to be brighter?
Yeah.
Me, I turn everything off, and like I said, I try to have it more accurate. But like with SDR, I still don't really watch at 100 nits.
Hmm.
I have a mode that I just calibrated, and what I did was try to find the brightness level where it would mitigate the ABL as much as possible, so that it wouldn't really be noticeable at all.
Hmm.
And ended up with 165 nits, but that's also for having mild lighting on. If I was in the complete dark for SDR, it would probably be maybe like 130, 140, something, just a little bit bump over the standard 100. But again, that's your just what white would be, and what people really mean when they say brightness is like midtones, mid ranges being brighter than they should.
Yeah. So let's see. We got any price predictions for a 65-inch 950H after the X95J drops? It's been 1600 since launch.
I don't know if there's many left, so they may just hold.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they're really stressing to move it. I would check open boxes. Like that would be your best bet, honestly. Like the Best Buys are definitely looking to move them. So
Or like
if they've
green toe, you can
yeah,
probably get it 11, 1200 on green toe.
or any local like TV shops, they would
Mhm.
probably move them for pretty cheap. So I would definitely check into the local places or any open box solutions. Actually, like speaking of open box, I was at Costco. They had a 55-inch C1 open box for $1,200. I was like, oh, that's a really good deal. So check your Costco sometimes. You might find a good deal.
So, further question on this between accuracy and what you like. Is there enough interest because I do a lot of settings video, every TV I get, I'm going to do settings video, and I've always just shown what is most accurate out of the box without getting a calibration.
Hmm.
Is there enough interest if I were to do 2 videos per TV, one that shows all the accurate settings and one that shows you could adjust this to make it do this, and you can adjust this to make it do that? Is that something that I should start doing as well?
I personally think that is something you should do. Like you can never have enough videos. Like honestly, you can never have too many videos, because people are looking for that information, right? And you're supplying it to two different groups of people. So you're giving it to the people that want a more accurate picture, and then you want somebody that just wants to try to customize their picture to look really good to them, you know, and they probably want to hear your opinion on what you do to get to that level.
Yeah.
So I know personally that's what I would want to see, and I like your videos when you don't do the non-accurate stuff too, because I don't really follow too much calibration myself. I still watch your calibration videos, but I don't know what the heck you're talking about sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
I have no idea.
And
But
like even just the regular settings videos, it's like I already have to do like the long one where I show and explain everything, and then I get complaints that it's too long. So then I do a short like 6 minute just bam 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 do this, and then I get people saying I go too fast. So that's why I have 2 videos for that. But now I'm gonna probably start doing another set of videos for, if you turn HDR tone mapping on, what is it going to do? That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Oh, so we got a super chat question here. Which TV is the best for gaming this year? Is it QN90A or the LG G1? My goodness, this is the toughest question, I think. You actually face this dilemma, which is the most hilarious thing. Is like I would probably lose my mind if I had to decide between those two. Uh, just because I seen the C1 next to the QN90A, and I swear, like most of the time, I love the QN90A. But then when I play the darker games or games with any sort of night scenes or anything where shadows really matter, like I was just so disappointed in what the QN90A gave me compared to an OLED, and like you can't beat that sometimes. But at the same time, you seen the side by side that I did, like the highlight details sometimes just pop so hard on the QN90A. So
This is another video that I got a lot of crap for, but
yeah.
when you use the word best and then you use a broad term like gaming, then it has to do everything better than, or do the most in that category that another TV can't do. And that's the G1. It has the most connectivity, has the most reliability, the most features, literally like. So if you're just broadly speaking gaming, you have every possible scenario for gaming to consider. It's the G1.
Yeah.
But if you're mostly playing on like one device and you don't need the extra ports, and if SDR brightness matters to you or the brightness matters, you don't care about the black levels, you don't care about Dolby Vision, then you probably would like the QN90A more.
Yeah, I agree. I think everybody would just love the QN90A more than a LG OLED. Like at this point, it really depends on what your environment is, though. Like because you can't just credit that. And if you're in a dark room all the time, I don't think you really need a super bright TV. But like maybe you want it still, because I'm like typically I tend to kind of float towards the brighter TVs, but I don't know, man. When you see a darker game side by side, when you see these two next to each other, you're kind of your opinion changes on that. Like I was really floating towards the QN90A most of the time until I did that side by side, and everybody thinks that I set that side by side up for the QN90A to win. I get that a lot in the comments, but I actually ended up liking the LG C1 for gaming more, in terms of like picture quality, in terms of a darker picture, especially in a game like Outriders where we were going into caves and stuff. I definitely preferred the C1 in that sense, but like for brighter scenes, it was no contest. So yeah, it all depends on what you like. Do you like brighter games or darker games? It's definitely a preference thing. And then the ports, does that matter to you? Because yeah, there's a HDMI 2.1 switch, but you don't really need that with the LG G1. You just have it working. So I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah. And then again, the QN90A is fantastic in so many areas, but it still has its problems, even with its brightness. The backlight taking too long to figure out how bright something's supposed to be, and the backlighting just doesn't work as well as it does in movie mode. The local dimming.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that too, and it is a little slow. One thing you'll notice, I think you pointed this out as well, with the backlight is a little slow to catch up to like lights. We talked about that on the stream with Ninjishin, how the the local dimming just sometimes lags behind a little bit. So that's something that is definitely concerning and could bother you. And then the crush details on local dimming high, like you definitely get some things that get crushed out. So
Yeah. And then to
yeah.
be fair, if you don't get a calibration on the LG, you're going to have
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
your near black being too dark. And
Yeah.
but again, there is settings you can play with, especially in gaming in the game optimizer. But it's just you might have to put a little bit of extra effort to get that shadow detail.
Yeah. So all right. So let's go out of the box comparison. QN98 or G1. Like if you weren't doing any calibration to it.
I would still just go with the LG as the broad term of gaming. But if you were to say, which would I rather play Fortnite on?
Let's just talk picture quality. Like, yeah, your personal.
It's going to depend on
preference.
what I'm playing. But
Yeah.
like I said, if it's SDR, you're going to get more brightness out of the QN90A. The G1 for most HDR, I would prefer it.
Okay.
And then, Dolby Vision gaming coming, which is one of the things that I'm pretty much going to have to sacrifice if I switch back to Sony. Yeah, unless they decide to add a game mode for it.
Really good point. The Dolby Vision gaming is a really good point. Like it's not here yet. Like it's still a work in progress, but if that ends up being good, like you might want Dolby Vision gaming, right? Especially if it does its like detection on how bright it needs to be, like it's supposed to read the metadata, like if it starts doing that, you're gonna want that in your games because games with HDR kind of ship half baked most of the time. So let's hope that Dolby Vision gaming is a thing and it's gonna be really good.
Yeah,
right, so
I'm starting to consider just selling my monitor and getting a 48-inch C1 and then just sitting here with headphones playing and then it doubling as my monitor and then having whatever TV for movies and just separating the two.
That's a good way to do it. That is definitely a good way to do it. I might be doing the same thing. So here we go. Another super chat. Thank you, Daniel. Which to get, X95J or X950H? Money, no object. Well, if money's no object, I would definitely say the X95J. It looks to be at least as good as the 950H, and then you get extra benefits with HDMI 2.1 and the XR processor. Like, you don't have to say too much about the XR processor. It kind of sells itself when you just look at some of the picture quality that you can see from the A80J and the A90J. And even the X90J has some sort of clarity to it that wasn't as present on the 900H, but I don't think you see it as much in the X90J as you do with the OLEDs. So I do think the processor is definitely better than the X1. So.
The main concern is, do you need HDMI 2.1? And then the second main thing is the black level. So having had the 900H and the 90J, which actually has a darker black level than the 950H, I wouldn't want anything not as dark as those. Like that's kind of like the minimum.
Yeah.
And the X95J with its local dimming turned up appears from that Chinese review to measure darker blacks than the 950H, the 90J, the 900H. So that's a big point, at least for me.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, I guess we should throw that into context, right? A lot of us we're a little bit disappointed in what we're seeing from the X95J early reviews, but mainly just because it was a little overhyped, right? It was just like we probably bought into the hype a little bit too much. Like everybody was saying it was going to be really bright, and I don't know why we bought into the hype so much about it, but I know I'm guilty of that, where I'm like, oh, maybe it is going to be a super bright TV. But yeah, it seems like an okay TV at least.
And if it is, 1200-ish nits, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
What I want to know is if when they did those tests, what did they have the local dimming on? Was it on high, and was it still blooming that much with it on high?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully we see some more reviews on that soon. Let's see.
In Spillage Village, I'm not going to get the QN90A to put next to the QNED. However, I have found the best way to do comparisons is actually not to have them side by side, because the camera cannot capture the two equally. It's just not a fair comparison. What you need to do is set the camera up and lock it down to what matches closely or the closest to what you're seeing in person. Record your content on that TV, do it again on the other TV, and then just crop them down and put them together in software. So that's why what I'm doing now is I have some various content that I keep doing the same content over and over. It may get boring, but at least that way it's consistent. And each new TV I get, I can do side by sides through editing and have it be a fair comparison because the camera is set up for that specific TV.
Yeah, I've been doing that as well. I've been capturing the same demos on them all, and then same ISO, same lighting situation. 'Cause, I mean, if you're gonna film in the dark anyway, like it should all just kind of work. Like if you have your camera set up properly. So I don't see a problem with that at all. How much does input lag affect local dimming, or how much does local dimming affect input lag? I don't think it does. It might to a processing sense of like why they don't put so much local dimming into it, but on a level where that you can control, like high, medium, low, it doesn't affect it at all. You know, but it might have some effect to why they're not adding more processing to it. But
Yeah, it's like with the Samsung, like I was saying, the local dimming doesn't work as well in game mode because they're trying to reduce the input lag.
yeah.
So how much? Well, you can't. There's no way to know because Samsung has it how they have it.
Right. They made it so that you can adjust your local dimming to a degree and have no input lag effect at all. So there is no way to affect the input lag currently with the way the local dimming is set up. If that's what you're asking. I don't know if you're asking like how much does it add in general? Like because when you go and you look at why local dimming looks so much better in movie mode sometimes, it's tough because it's not that much better in a lot of senses, and it's really only noticeable on certain scenes. Like I don't know if you tested like game mode off and on, like flipping them back and forth, but I do this constantly when I have my Samsung TVs, and especially I do it with the Q90T a lot too, is where I'll flip off game mode and I'm like, I don't see a big difference. Like, but I'll see it on like actual content, just not in games too much.
And then Matt Facer, if you're seeing what I was seeing on the Q98 on your C1, if you have HGIG enabled and not the dynamic tone mapping or whatever, and if you have the brightness setting of the game set appropriately, so of Destiny 2, if you go in and set the brightness how it should be, and your console HDR calibration menu is set to 800 nits and all that stuff is correct, then you won't see that.
Yeah, here's a question from Sir Bronzeville. Should reality creation be enabled on ADJ game mode, older games on PS5? I say yes. I say I would put a little bit of reality creation in there. Why not?
I like reality creation. I either put it at auto or manual, but no higher than 20.
You use it in gaming, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's one of the biggest strengths of the XR processor and reason to have the TV.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. I'm glad I have somebody that agrees with me on that.
So you get that. Some of the purest accuracy people will disagree, but I also see a lot of calibrators and stuff who do like it.
Yeah,
And use
I
it.
do see that a lot too. Yeah, which is surprising to me. I'm like, it's something that kind of affects creators' intent, but like actual calibrators are starting to like it. Sony did a really good job with it. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So yeah, one of the I don't even know if it's a downside. It's more of a personal preference thing with the G1 watching 90s, 2000s, whatever, just older stuff that generally has more film grain in it naturally or more noise.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about this.
Yeah, it's certainly obvious. Let's put it that way. And
Yeah.
again, purists like it, and I usually don't have a problem with it, but there is just quite a bit in some scenes.
Yeah, when you see kind of what the Samsung and what the Sonys are doing with movies and film grain, and you start to watch movies on those TVs, and then you go towards like C1 or a G1, you definitely notice more film grain. Um, for whatever reason, like you said, it's probably has something to do with creators' intent, but you do notice way more film grain on the LG than you do on the Sony and the Samsung TVs.
Yeah.
There's no doubt
And,
about that.
and I am, if anybody who has the LG OLEDs has any, tell me what device, what show, movie, whatever, what scene, something, show me what you're seeing the clarity settings on the LG make a difference in, or the AI picture mode, because I see nothing. I sit there, I don't know, probably spent like an hour and a half going through different content, different sources. I cannot see the noise reduction settings doing anything. I don't see the super resolution doing anything. I don't see the AI. I mean, AI brightness obviously does, and AI genre affects your motion. So it's the just everything else. I don't see it doing anything. Like I'm
Yeah.
trying to capture stuff on camera, but I can't even see it by eye. Smooth gradation, if you put it on a high, I can see it make a difference, but then you cut a lot of the detail out. Medium, it's hardly any difference at all.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. I personally don't really like the film grain that much. So like I was watching Mortal Kombat on the LG C1, which I don't even think that movie was any good. So like I didn't mind it that much. But yeah, that I saw film grain and I was like, should there be this much film grain in such a modern movie? You know, I don't know. Like maybe creators add too much film grain. Maybe that's something that they do. But I prefer it the way that Sony does it. And there's a setting for it on Sony too, so I would just
Yeah.
like it if LG had a setting. Like, just give me a setting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At least on the Sony, if I'm changing something, even if I'm never going to use noise reduction on the Sony, I at least see it doing something.
Right.
If I don't know. I don't know why that is with the LGs.
Mm-hmm. I remember
Well,
watching
Walking Dead in period looks awful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just
I was gonna
don't
say,
use that to judge.
I remember watching Walking Dead on my C7 when I had it. And wow, yeah, it looked pretty bad. It looked pretty bad.
They-
But like I said, that show looks pretty bad. Like you're saying.
Yeah, not only they do it artistically, but
Mhm.
also to save money.
Yeah, a lot of games do that too. I swear I turn film grain off on games like more than any other setting. I don't know about you, but that's what I do. Like that and chromatic aberration. Like I'm flipping that
Yep.
stuff off right away.
No, yeah. So I'm working on a new format for TV reviews.
Cool.
And I want something that's going to not generalize things, but make it. I don't want to do like a 10-point scale kind of thing. You know, I want it to be where that next year you can come back and see the difference if there really is like, but there has to be a big enough improvement to move into a different category. So what I'm thinking is I'll have different subjects for the review, and then I'm going to have poor, average, good in all of the subjects, and then certain parts of it have a fourth option. So like for calibration, I'll add in reference as if it's very close to a reference, or for clarity, clearness, sharpness, have an excellent. For connectivity features, have excellent. For gaming, maybe call it MLG. If it's really good for gaming.
Do people use that term still?
I don't know. It's just something like that. So that way,
Yeah.
it's that way you don't have to, it's an 8.4 and then try to decipher what that really means.
Right.
And then I'm also going to have like an X factor subject for the reviews, because some TVs just have that. The QN90A has that with the teal.
Mhm.
The Sony has it with their processing.
Yeah.
And for me, that I guess I'll just call that poor, average, good, or if it gets higher than that, just call it experience for X factor.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So if that sounds good, let me know. I'm gonna probably start implementing that with the G1 review.
Yeah, if you want my opinion, I think it's pretty cool. Anytime you can kind of switch up the current scale of things is always good. Like, always throw a wrench into things. I was thinking about doing some sort of review structure myself, but it's just so tough to come up with something and stick with it because once you invent something and you can't really go past a certain point. So you got to be really strict about not giving like perfect scores and stuff to people
Mhm.
because then you're like, well, how do I beat this? And I think that's what ratings does, right? They struggle with kind of getting their last TV to beat their other TVs. So sometimes you'll see like older TVs are ranked way higher than some of the newer TVs, but the newer TVs
Mhm.
clearly would have beat them. So
But then they
it's
also have to put in a thing that says, don't compare year to year.
yeah,
It's
exactly. It's tough because people are gonna do that though,
yeah.
naturally.
Tom Wells, I am on season 4, I believe. I've watched through it all before when it was airing new, and I do agree. After 5, it does hit a very slow point, or a bad
Oh,
point,
that might have been a
and I
spoiler.
think it's yeah, around season 7 or so, it gets better again, and by the end of it, you'll probably enjoy it more. You just kind of got to drudge yourself through a couple bad seasons.
Man, I haven't seen Smallville in years.
Mhm.
All right, let's see. There was a question I was trying to get to, but I just lost it.
Mm.
If you guys have any questions that I missed, ask them again. Because we were kind of going through some back and forth conversation, and sometimes everything kind of gets hidden. Um, let's see. I saw something, and now it's gone.
A lot of talk about the film grain, but
Yeah.
a lot of it too isn't even film grain. There's just actual noise. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I know, streaming content, you're going to have noise, but it seems like the noise is more present on the LG than it was on the Sony, or even on the Q90A. I didn't notice the noise as much.
Yeah. Man.
Do you know what the question was about?
No. There's something involved in the A80J, but I lost it completely. All right. Ask it again if you guys didn't have your question answered. Um, we'll get to them all. Let's see.
So Bronzeville
We
asking
got that
something
one.
about
Yeah.
the 4K Blu-ray player,
Oh,
the 80J.
okay. Let me see if I can find that.
And
This
S
one?
Brooklyn, yep, and the one above that too, asking about Sony's new soundbar with the A80J.
Okay.
So you have a UBP X7 or 800. I have the 700. Debating if a Dolby Vision player is worth it or just stream Dolby Vision movies. Um, does that not have the option to switch? Because I know with the 700, it has Dolby Vision. You just have to toggle it on and off every time you want to switch from one or the other, and it's annoying. The 800, I assumed, would have it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would depends on your library, right? Like I think streaming movies is pretty good now, especially since it's you got TV LED Dolby Vision. So I think that you would be probably fine with streaming unless you got a whole library of like 4K Blu-rays.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have the UHD movies and you have an A80J, you absolutely want a player to play them in Dolby Vision.
For sure.
And then go to the one above that.
All right.
So did you see Sony's new soundbar announcement?
I heard about that. It has 2.1 ports, right?
Yep, and it's finally, so this we all know the A90J has the center speaker, terminals. The A80J has had this port that no one could figure out how to get it to work or what it was or whatever. It's not a 3.5 millimeter, and this is why. This is what they were doing, is you can now use the A80J as a center channel to go with that soundbar.
That's good.
It's their own new proprietary connection.
Yeah, so it's all starting to make sense now. It's like like they had a plan all along. They just didn't tell us about it. But that's good. Like hopefully it all works good and there's no input lag introduced, right? If it's a clean signal, then that could be really good.
Yeah, I know and I'm pretty sure that bar had 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, so I'm pretty sure. So that's adding an
That's what
extra
I
port.
saw. Yeah.
So I mean, and that would go through your eARC port. So then you would have 4 and then 2 for 3. So you'd get 3 ports.
Huh. It's like they planned it. All right, here's a question. Hey, Classy, your last couple videos focused on the LG brightness and settings. They are super informative. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's not even just on the LG either. The Black Crush was, but the one about brightness in general was for really any TV. Any time anyone saying if a TV is dim, dark, or bright, or whatever, and just it's why looking at those 10% measurements just really don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a really great video. I watched it last night and I enjoyed it a lot. And then I watched the Black Crush one today. That was really good as well. So yeah, keep up the good work, man. Killing it.
Yeah. And then Joe, the A80J 77 best overall movie watching TV for under 4,000. Does yes, and all yes. The Shield has great upscaling, works very well in conjunction with reality creation. For movies, casual gaming, yeah, just everything there is yep.
For sure. I would agree with that too. And what's IPT movies?
I'm assuming Internet Protocol TV movie or upscale IPT movies.
Never heard of IPT. Let's see if he's got the I don't know.
Yeah, but the Shield will upscale anything that you give it. The AI upscaling is only certain apps, but it will still do basic upscaling for anything.
Yeah. Here's another question. Thank you. A lot of questions just flying in.
Yeah. Updating A80J settings as updates from Sony's release. I know. Updates aren't going to change the settings. Now so I showed the 20-point advanced settings that I had done on my own particular set just because people ask for it, but it's not something I recommend. I don't ever recommend copying advanced calibration settings. All panels are different. But when it comes to just getting the brightness boost, if you're just increasing gains and they're even, then you're not going to really change anything. When it comes to just typical stuff like brightness or turning this off, turning that on, all of that stuff is fine to copy. And actually, I think maybe in a week or so, I'll have a video on things you can typically copy, things you shouldn't, things you might be able to, and then also add in, what kind of patterns or whatever should you be looking at to adjust stuff specifically to your panel without having to go into full calibration stuff.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's see. That's the same question twice. Let's see. There was another question. A lot of Superman questions. Let's see. Here's one. I don't know if that was for us, but QN90A or 85A. I think he was asking somebody what kind of TV they had. Never mind. Let's see.
Any Dragon Ball fans say that the new movie has a name? Dragon Ball Superhero?
Oh, wow. I actually never got into Dragon Ball. I don't know why.
It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. That's cool. I know a lot of people that love that, so they're really happy when they heard about it for sure. I'm more of a Pokemon guy. That's what I was watching after school. And I guess I was too cool for Dragon Ball. I wish I would have got into it though. It looks like a really awesome show.
I mean, when I was younger, I got into it first for the art and the action, and then later became more into the story.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Is anybody got any other questions? I feel like we caught up on questions, most of these, but there was questions flying in earlier that we just didn't have the time to get to. So if you want to ask those again, that'd be nice because I can't scroll up for some reason.
Rock, I was out of town in New York for a few days. I don't think I've watched anything in Dolby Vision for quite a bit. I've been just watching some regular Blu-rays when I have time. And I still have to actually go in and turn off the ASBL, or turn it back on, whatever. undo the change in the service menu. I haven't done that yet.
Big Daddy Dave says, so get this, my Q90T decided to self-update from 1462 to 2016 on its own with auto-update turned off. I don't know how I managed to do that, but let me know how you like the Q90T new update, because I don't think I like it too much, to be honest with you. It lowered some brightness settings in certain areas, raised it in some other areas. And then, like I said, it seemed like it copied the algorithm from the QN90A, but applied it to the Q90T, which, in my opinion, felt like it's worse. And it doesn't feel like it fits the Q90T. So it's weird, man. Like, the whole firmware update is marked as 2016. And it went out to, like, multiple TVs, not just the full array local dimming TVs. It went out to, like, the Q60T, and that never does that. Like, it shared it with all the different TVs. It's so weird. I don't know what Samsung's doing with their updates.
Yeah. Joe did reply it was Internet Protocol Television, like I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the AI, like I said, works on specific apps, but the apps it doesn't work on, it still will do regular basic upscaling.
Yeah. So we got a question from David Wieland. What are your thoughts on the 5-year Geek Squad warranty from Best Buy for the A80J? I really like that TV, and I'm torn if the warranty is with or not. The warranty is $749 for the 70 cent. That's a pretty expensive warranty. But I mean, like, if it's gonna give you peace of mind, maybe consider it, because like they do come out and they'll take it off your TV, off of the wall for you if it's wall mounted. They do like take care of you, but the chances of you really having issues with that TV, that's pretty low. I think Sony makes really good TVs, as does LG, and I think like when it comes to LG OLED or Sony OLED, like you're probably good without a warranty, honestly.
Yeah,
That's
so
my take. I don't know.
we know LG extended the warranty on the G1 to 5 years, covering burn-in because they're so confident in that new panel type.
Right.
And the A80J has that same panel.
Yep.
The only thing that makes not even really a concern, but a thought, is the image retention that's visible on the A80J that's really not visible on the LGs or the A90J. I don't think that will really be an issue long term, but it's just something to keep in mind. But another thing to keep in mind is the A80J really is a competitor to the G1. So if you look at it that way, the cost of that TV with warranty is about the same as the G1. So
That's
then
true.
it's more of an apples to apples comparison. And if you ever do have a problem, Best Buy will just give you your original purchase price back onto a gift card that you can then apply to your next TV.
Yep. They'll come out, try to fix it. If they can't fix it, they'll just give you a gift
I'm
card.
saying specifically if it's burn-in, they'll just say,
Oh yeah, for sure.
they'll just say, okay, yeah, there's burn-in. Here's a gift card for your $3,500 that it cost when you bought it.
Yep, that's true. I don't know if they inspect it though. Like, do they inspect it?
I think if you
can't
have a picture
remember.
of it, they'll just use a picture, but they
Okay.
might send someone out to check.
Yeah, because like
Thanks.
there's ways to put burn-in on your TV, but like how do they even prove that? I always thought about that. I'm like, people could probably do some.
Not only
shady
that, they let you
things.
keep it too.
Yeah. Oh, I
They'll
didn't know
give you the
that.
gift card and you keep that one.
I didn't know that. I thought you take it in. I thought they'd
Yep.
bring it in and take it from you.
Yeah, I've seen reports of people with C7, C8s, whatever, that had burn-in. They got Best Buy to give them a gift card for it, and then because LG was replacing panels out of warranty for free, then they ended up with 2 TVs.
Wow. Yeah. We're not condoning that, but yeah, I mean that's kind of crazy. Let's see. There was another question.
IRL.
Yeah, here we go. It's a good
All right,
starting point.
Starting point, yeah. I'd say just go ahead and get the Pro Plus. It's a $30, $40 difference, I think. But if you're going to go that far, look for a Spectro. You can get the i1 Basic Pro on eBay for a couple $100, few $100 used. It's at least a okay option starting out. You just want to make sure that it's not been abused in any way, if possible. So the one that I got, D-Nice sold me, so I'm sure it was well kept.
Yeah.
But if you don't get a Spectro, then you're going to end up with a pretty graph, but that doesn't mean much. Because if the
Gotcha.
meter isn't accurate, then you're still just going to have problems.
So what would the cost of that be altogether?
If you're really good at finding good deals on used stuff and you can get a good one for a couple $100, and then the colorimeter is like $300, and then the software is $150, probably around $750, give or take.
Okay.
So if you want to do it yourself specifically and you want to just keep messing with it and learn it,
Mhm.
then go that route. But if you just want it to be calibrated, just pay a calibrator to do it.
Right. It's only really worth doing if you want to get into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. How long does it take to calibrate a TV, you would say?
If you're gonna auto cal, not too long, but if you want to just otherwise, it's pretty much never ending because you're constantly adjusting stuff like and how many modes you want to do. I mean, I have like 4 different SDR modes, and then game mode, and then HDR, and Dolby. Like it can just keep going and going and going, and then you learn something new, and then you go back and start over. Yeah.
It's just like it's never perfect, so you keep messing with it.
Yeah. Or just keep trying to learn something new about it, try to get it a
Yeah.
little better. Yeah.
Gotcha. But like, what if you're just doing the auto cal? How long does that take?
Just for the average person who's gonna get that stuff in AutoCal,
Like what the
per-
average reviewer does, like
yeah, probably 3 to 5 hours for however many modes that they would need for most cases.
yeah. How much actual work do you do, or is it just like a waiting kind of game?
Me, I'm more into doing it manually and not doing
Right. No,
AutoCal. but-
I'm not speaking about you specifically. When I say you, I mean like how much work.
Oh, it's
does
more
the
of a just
person
click a
do?
few buttons
Oh,
and
okay.
then walk away. I mean, I did the fixed 13 3D LUT yesterday and literally just told it to do it, and then went back to work. Came back and it said finished after 2.5 hours. So
Okay. All right. That's what I thought, but I wasn't really sure. I was like, I wonder if there's any labor that really goes into that, but sounds like it's not. Let's see. There was a question about Sony's movie watching experience. Is Sony's movie watching experience that much better than LG? What's your opinion on this?
defined that much because it's
Right.
it may be like if you wanted to do a point scale, it may be 1/4%.
Let's
But
see.
when you're in your really high end and you're really looking for the fine stuff, that 1/4% is noticeable.
Would you pay that price difference right there, the 500? I personally wouldn't. That's a lot of a difference.
To me, there's two different. Well, actually, there's more than 2 different kinds of buyers, but I would say the 2 typical kinds of buyers. You have the ones that just want the best deal.
Right.
You have the ones that have a set budget and they want the best they can get for that budget.
Right.
So that those don't mutually always fit together. So if I say I'm going to spend $5,000 on a TV and it's a 1/4% difference versus half the cost, it's still I already have the budget in mind, so that's what I'm going to spend and that's what I'm going to get.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like when you judge it, like based off of, let's say, if you had to get a TV right now and you just wanted a 77-inch for yourself, you didn't do this for a living, right? You just wanted a TV. Wouldn't you rather just go and get like a LG C10 for like 2,800 if you can find it, over something like a 80J for 3,500, 77-inch?
not
You
me.
wouldn't?
Nope.
Okay.
Like I said, I want what I know is going to make me happy and I'm going to have for a while.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what the price difference really is because I know I'm going to be enjoying it for years.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, this
Makes sense.
with the G1, I really do like the G1. There's just some stuff where like it's too noisy, too grainy, whatever. I know that I'm missing a little bit of clarity and sharpness. And then now it's go with the 7780J, which I really loved, or just break my wallet and go 8390J.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know. I'm still deciding it all.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, and I don't know. I think that they both do movies really good, right? Like,
Hmm.
it depends on what you're looking for. Like I said, if you're not a fan of film grain, then you're not gonna like the LG. But if you don't mind film grain, like LG will do fine in movies. Both look very similar. I would say that
Hmm.
when they are side by side. I didn't see a huge amount of difference until I was up close to about, I don't know, 3 4 feet away. Then I really noticed a difference. And from average viewing distance, I thought they were very identical.
I would say the cleaner the content or source, the less advantage the Sony has.
That's fair. Like if it
Um,
has to do any upscaling or anything like that,
Not even
the
that. I'm just saying,
Sony
like,
will win.
like I said, I watch mostly older stuff. But if you have
Right,
a brand new UHD and you're watching in Dolby Vision, it's going to be almost the same.
right.
Pretty, yeah.
It's interesting. Let's see. What about the Philips Mini LED? We don't have Philips here, so we can't judge the Philips Mini LED, unfortunately. It looks pretty impressive though, from what I've seen. I don't know if you ever
Mhm.
looked into that, but
Not
I
really.
didn't look too much into it. I just saw the specs a little bit. It's hard to look into something that I can't buy. It just
Yeah.
makes me sad. I'm like, oh man.
Yep. And again, anyone who's looking and they're really trying to find the best deal, um, if you're not worried about having like a Best Buy burn-in warranty, check with Value Electronics, Cleveland Plasma, or any of those non-chain places.
Hmm.
I mean, even Cleveland Plasma does offer a burn-in warranty because you're typically not going to pay tax, you're not going to pay shipping, and it's going to be discounted. So when you're talking a big purchase, that's a lot of money to save.
Yeah. So you know how LG sometimes backs you on burn-in even though you don't
Yeah.
have a warranty? Do you think Sony would do the same thing?
Nope.
No.
No. I
Yeah.
can't find a single report of Sony doing that.
I haven't
Nope.
either. I was looking too. I was like, because I'm researching my TV personally for myself, and I'm like, if I ever run into burn-in, does Sony got my back? And it doesn't look like it.
After the X900H, I can tell you Sony support is almost basically useless.
Yeah.
Unless there's like, a pink line going across your entire screen or something that's very easy to show and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, like, cause like I feel the same way about like a lot of things that Sony does. It feels like they cut corners when it comes to a lot of the way they support you, and just even their OS kind of has holes in it.
Mhm.
It's like a little laggy, it's a little sluggish. Sometimes apps crash, and it's like you don't get that too much with LG. It's definitely clunky. Like I don't like the menu system on the new LGs too much,
Yeah.
but it's gotten faster, right, with the update.
I
No?
mean, some people have said that. I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I've disabled the ads in the service menu. I've disabled all the like secret menu stuff to make it as fast as possible. It's still laggy to me. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit faster, but I can't tell.
Yeah. It's not like
Um,
Tizen. Tizen's just like lightning
yeah, that's
quick.
very fast. That's the fastest I've seen.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully they don't give up on it because I heard rumors they were going to go to Google TV, and oh, I hope not. That would be sad. Let's see. Sony is
E-Rock,
not up to date. Yeah.
E-Rock. So we were talking earlier. If you go to like ratings and look at the color volume that they measured on the G1, the C1, the A80J, the G1 is the highest. And we were talking earlier because their C1 and the A80J that they have is the older panel, whereas the G1 is obviously the newer panel. And this is where the 77 A80J that I had the best colors in bright areas, the most color volume by eye. So I'm pretty sure if they had a 77 A80J, then those scores would be different.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, that's tough, man. Color volume is one of those things. Like I see it measured all the time in different ways too.
Mhm.
Like, is there a proper way to do it? Like, because I keep hearing
No,
that AutoCal and CalMan is just like not it for that.
no, well, no, there's so much variance in measurements in general,
Mhm.
especially with OLEDs. How warm's the panel? It's just a huge thing. And this is what we were talking about with Ninjishin and
Yeah.
ratings, and we don't know for certain how they do their brightness measurements. But if they are just putting their meter on the screen and just letting it go, and they just have the pattern on there permanently, and it's just watching the number rise and then watching it fall back down until it hits that flat line. If that's
Mm.
what they're doing, that's not representative of anything.
Right.
You're not gonna, unless you're just gonna pause your movie and you just want to see how it looks like that. I don't know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and who knows what they do, to be honest with you. They don't really classify what they do in
yeah.
terms of that. I
I
wish
mean,
they
and
were a
I,
little more transparent. I think they're starting to like
yeah.
open up to that. And what I seen them do actually is they went back on the Q90T and they retested it with the new update, which I thought was really awesome. You
Mhm.
know, and they
And
went back and they tested the
mhm.
brightness and they showed how the EOTF tracking is a little bit different now, and
Mhm.
that's all cool stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
So,
And even the C1, they did go back and did some retests on that. And like I said, I've been talking with one of their members on Twitter about doing different brightness measurements, and just they're looking into changing, and that's all good. And I still use them and look at their site all the time. So
yeah. Yeah. All right, we got a super chat here from Jason. Thank you for the super chat. He said, "Can you see a difference on LG TVs between the A7 Gen 4 and the A9 Gen 4 chips?" The A7 Gen 4, would that be that
that's
would
what's
be
on the
the
QNED
A1?
90.
Is that okay? And the A1 and the B. There's no B, right?
Mhm.
This
The,
year. Well, for the
the
US, there's no B.
I was gonna say not yet or not here, but
Right.
I did see something about it.
So this is the budget chip. That's what I
Yeah.
basically call it because that's what it is. And is there a difference? I don't know. I do know that there is a difference between the A1 and the C1, and it's
Hmm.
significant. And the processing seems to be affected by that. A lot of people are saying that there's a clear difference. Like the clarity difference is there, and the processing just seems better on the C1. That might have something to do with it being a 120 hertz panel, but
I'm pretty sure there's a big brightness difference too.
yeah, yeah. So if you're asking in terms of that, then yeah. But as far as the QNet, we don't know yet. Like
Hmm.
we don't know what it entails yet. If there's gonna be any downsides to it, but I mean it is still a Gen 4 chip. It's just not doing as much. I mean, for them to say that it's not a big deal would be false though, you know? Like it's definitely a big deal to me because it's on your 8K TV, but it's not on your 4K TV. It's on your OLEDs, but it's not on your 4K QLED, you know, your QNED. So I don't know. To me, it's a big deal, and I got a lot of flack for that video that I did where I was like, I don't like this. Why is the processor an A7 Gen 4 and not a A9? Like,
Hmm.
I thought it was a realistic thing. Like, what I should question that you have a high end TV and you're putting a budget chip into it, you know?
Yeah. The main things that the processor is going to affect is upscaling, motion, um, and determining like uh, how much brightness, and also the backlighting algorithm, controlling the backlighting, all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
we're just going to have to see. I just don't know how we would compare it to anything, unless someone had the QNED 90 next to the 99, but then you're also comparing a difference of 4K and 8K. There's no
Yeah.
apples to apples comparison here.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see how that handles the
So,
processing and the upscaling for the 8K
mhm.
too, because like I keep hearing the 900T is like, you know, compared to the 90T last year. Like I remember what FOMO was saying about the 900T, and he was really let down by the 900T, and a lot of people are kind of saying the same thing about the Q900, except for the 85 inch. TechMed Richter likes that one a lot.
Mhm.
But like, there's not a lot of 8K reviews out there, unfortunately. So
I don't know. I say just forget what processor it has and just listen to the reviews, all the
hmm
ones you can, and decide if the TV's for you.
yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. Let's see. What's your favorite Dragon Ball character?
character?
Yeah, that's what you got a question. I lost
Vegeta.
it. I just remember reading it. I can't highlight it because I did read it though. Where is it? Anyway, there was another question too. Let's see. Oh wait, it says LG quietly released the B1 in the US. It's only available through the website though, which is weird. That is weird. It's probably because it's confusing. Like to have
There's-
an A1, a B1, and a C1. It's like,
There's already almost no difference in the A1 and C1 price. So is it? I don't know,
well,
makes
there
no
is
sense.
now. It's $12.99 for the 55-inch. So that's
So
definitely cheap.
$200. So what are they going to do? Put
That's
the
true.
B1 in there so they have one at every $100 increment?
That's probably why they haven't released it yet, because they're like, they thought about it and they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make no sense. But the B1 does have a 120 hertz panel, so I guess you got that going for you. Yeah, personally, like, wish they didn't do that with the A1 because it's confusing, man. The box, like, if you see the box at Costco, it looks just like the C1 box.
Mhm.
It's like no difference at all, other than the model number. And I'm like, oh, why'd you do that? At least it has a different stand, right? So people won't get confused there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a volume mover based on the people who just don't know, and all they're going to see is an A1 versus a C1 for $200 less, and what's the difference? And they're not going to see a difference, so they're just going to buy the cheaper one.
Yeah. And I like LG. I really do. And like a lot of people think that I just like the Sony better. I do in certain cases, but I actually might end up getting an LG because of gaming. Like when it comes down to it, it's like, what do you need? And that's sort of where I'm leaning right now is LG. A lot of people are asking me, what are you leaning towards? And I'm leaning towards LG OLED. And I keep thinking, QN90A is definitely in the back of my mind as well. But I don't know. Like, I think what I want to do is maybe get like a 50-inch of one of them and then like a big one of the other one. I don't know yet.
And then I want to know what's going on with LG and was it 43-inch they were supposed to be bringing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would be a great
I mean, that would
size,
fit my
man.
desk perfectly.
Yeah, that would be a great size. Like, 'cause I hear that like the pixel density is kind of a problem for a monitor, right? Like, you don't want that big of, you don't want to be able to
Depends.
see the pixels. So
It's more about just how you have to sit further away to fit it all in your view. So
yeah,
then the pixels become less of an issue.
that's true. I guess you could get like a desk extender or something. I don't know.
Well, what I would probably do is just wall mount it and then as close to the wall as possible, and then just sit back like this. But,
Yeah, I guess you could do that.
the new Sony XR processing seems to be more than a marginal upgrade this year. Where have you observed the differences? Don't say specular highlights. Clarity, just general sharpness.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's driving the reality creation.
Yeah, it's definitely the clarity for me, man. It's by far like the clearest TV I've seen this year. And it's crazy how clear it is. A great way to see the difference is if you were able to see it next to another TV. Then you could really tell. So like you could actually see it in my side by sides. You could see whenever I put a side by side up and a Sony was next to another TV that wasn't a Sony, the Sony was clear. And then I actually got called a Sony fanboy like so many times for those videos because it looks so clear. I'm like, I can't help that it's so clear.
Yeah. Oh man, I just still picture in my mind in your video with the C1 next to it with Pokemon Snap on the Switch,
Yeah.
looking at the ground, you could just see stuff that just looked like it wasn't even there on the C1.
It was even more clear in person too. It blew my mind, man, when it was side by side. Like the upscaling it did with the Switch blew my mind. So yeah, if you're getting a TV for the Switch, I would go for a Sony for sure. But yeah, that your question, I'd definitely say the clarity, for sure. B1 is actually the same price as the C1 at 55-inch. Interesting. That's Kind of sad. Well, technically the C1's on sale though, even though that seems to be their new price,
Yeah.
which I think they got an advantage on. You know, like whenever the QN98 isn't on sale, like people are just gonna buy a C1. You know, there's not even gonna be a question.
All right. So back to the QNED, the QNED 90 IPS. Basically, on paper, it's a QN85A from LG. So that's what I'm expecting performance-wise. However, we discussed earlier, Samsung doesn't let you turn off dynamic tone mapping. LG does. So I'm expecting QN85A performance that's more accurate,
Right.
and hopefully doesn't have that off-angle blooming issue.
So do you know if they let you turn off the tone mapping for their LCDs?
We
Like,
don't know
have you
yet.
looked into that?
Don't
Okay.
know, but it's
Okay.
LG, so I'm
Right.
assuming so and hoping so.
Yeah. Like, do you think that some of their processing would carry over at least?
Yeah, I'm hoping you open the menu and it's just like the C1 or G1.
Yeah. If it is, that's pretty good because they have a lot of customization for sure. And that whole tone mapping thing you mentioned with Samsung is so annoying. That is so annoying. Like, why can't you just turn it off? Like, HGIG is literally supposed to disable it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't, you know? And even like local dimming on high, it says it. It says local dimming on high is supposed to disable all tone mapping,
It
and
doesn't.
it doesn't. So, I don't know. I'd love for Samsung to communicate and actually tell us what they're changing. Because I like Samsung, man, but they just change some weird stuff from time to time for no reason.
RJ double.
Oh, wait.
No, wait,
Oh, hold
okay.
on. When are you going to side your TV, KG? And also, are you going back to the A80J Classy? I'll let you go first.
Well, I promised to do some videos on the G1, and so I'm trying to fulfill all of those videos before I make my decision, and in the process, make myself really think about it, because where I would get the A80J, there would not be a returnable option. It would just be a lot cheaper. And that's part of the reason I would go with it. But like I also said earlier, there is a possibility I decide just to say you only live once and go the 83A90J.
Yeah, I'll probably say for me, it'll be soon. I think, unless I talk myself out of it and just keep the Q90T. I feel so obligated to buy a TV now that I'm in this, you know. But it's like at the same time, I really like my Q90T, and I actually like watching movies and stuff on it. So I don't know. I'll probably end up buying a display soon. Whether I'm gonna get definitely a 48 or a 50-inch soon for my new editing display. But as far as like a 77-inch or a 75-inch TV goes, I don't know yet. Probably like around November after I see all the TVs. I gotta see OD0. I gotta see the Hisense dual cell. Like,
With what you just said, though, I really think you should just get the 48C1 to have that,
yeah,
and then you don't have to worry about your gaming, and just keep the Q90T another year,
yeah,
and then get whatever comes out, next year.
that's true. That's a good point. That's probably what I'll end up doing. I was gonna say the dual cell. I was gonna ask you about that. What is your thoughts on the dual cell?
I I don't like to speculate on rumors too much, and what we know is that it didn't do well in Australia, and they're saying it's different here, but
Right,
companies like to say things that aren't true.
Yeah,
So we will just have to wait on that.
it's definitely quoted to be brighter than what it was. So there's probably some truth to that. My thing about Hisense, I like Hisense, what they do in a way, but I still feel like even the Hisense UAG, yeah, it's bright, but it still feels dull. I don't know how to explain it. Like it just doesn't pop to me like the other bright TVs do. It almost has like that matte like LCD feeling. Like when you look at like a TN panel like monitor, like a gaming monitor or something, you know how it has that like real
Yeah.
dull looking like flatness to it. That's what I feel with the Hisense, and it's mostly in game mode that I feel that way. Cause like in movies, it doesn't look too bad, but you definitely have some lifted black, you know. But and again, it's LCD. It's it's a budget LCD. You kind of get what you pay for with that. And the dual cell, it looks impressive on paper. There's no doubt about it. You know, if they can get the dimming, the local dimming to look really good and kind of on the level of an OLED, which I mean, a lot of people say that, right? They're always like, "Oh, we got close to OLED levels." Um, but if they do get close, you know, you got a bright TV that's 1,000 nits. That could be pretty impressive. The only thing that worries me is the processing, right? Like they're not known for great processing.
Yeah, I mean, between the inverse ghosting, the red ghosting, just
Yep.
there's problems that I think they need to work out before I get excited about one.
Yeah, and let me tell you, those ghosting issues are terrible. I tried to play last night. I was playing Gang Beasts, and I saw my character just like floating, almost like a ghost was behind it. Like it was literally ghosting, and I was like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. But I don't know. A lot of people love it. Uh, I think it's cool for the price, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't call it a contender. Like people actually will say that TV is better than the QN90A. No, there's no way. Like there's
Yeah.
no way. I don't see it. So that's my thoughts on that. And then OD0, we don't know nothing about that. Like we just know that it's thin, and it looks like an OLED, right? So
Um, yeah. So anyway, RJ Double was asking about the 77-inch differences being closer to D65. Yeah, it's the smaller sizes does have alternate white points, but you know, unless you like really know what you're looking for, you're not gonna notice or care. And with the 65 and 55, right now it's seeming like you're getting the older panels, not the newer one.
yeah. So is always like that with the white points though for that size?
Yeah, they're using alternate white points at 55 and 65. 77 and 83s are closer to D65. And then with the G1 77, it was actually the warmest that I've seen, where it was warmer than D65.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool.
just I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the chat right now with the E-Rock. I don't know if maybe there's comments I've missed or.
Here's a question real quick while you keep looking. I'm interested to see if the QLED crushes shadow detail out of the box like their OLEDs. Shouldn't? Right? Like,
We will see.
yeah. I don't remember if I heard about nano cell TVs doing that. I think it's just like the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think that's a thing with their OLEDs, but also, you know, like with the QN90A, like you saw, you know, you have a Starfield test. It's just going to turn off some of those really dim stars just to make it look darker.
Yeah, that's
So
local dimming does do that with the QN90A. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm very like this is probably the most excited I am about a TV review coming out in a while because I don't know what to expect. And you know, it's either going to be like, okay, here it is, another nano cell TV that's just a little bit better, or it's going to be like, oh, this is definitely a QN98 contender. And if that's the case, then you know, you definitely have a good TV because you got all those options for you with Dolby Vision on a QLED. So
yeah.
I think they were talking about Samsung colors. That's what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know if maybe there's a person that I can't see their post or something. Just looks like
Possible.
Yeah,
It's definitely possible. Yeah, I think they're just talking about in general how Samsung does their color.
yeah, and see that's another thing. I had someone going crazy because I brought up the color and accuracy on the QN90A, but that was specifically blue. And if you look at everyone's blue chart or color accuracy charts, you'll see blue sticks out more than the rest. Even if it is under 3, it's still sticking out more than the other colors. And like ratings, you know, he mentions ratings, says it's one of the most color accurate displays. The problem with, again, that they have is they mix in the color accuracy with the grayscale.
Yeah.
So that, and they only call it color accuracy at that point. And that's just kind of misleading.
Right.
But I saw even on Technodad when his chart, the blue was more inaccurate than the other colors.
Hmm. And Tom Wells brings up a good point too. He said dual cell is definitely a major tech. Sony and Panasonic use them for mastering monitors. That's good. Good. Good point.
Mm.
Let's see. Someone was just judging PQ based on how the sets looked in store. Oh, okay. So they just had a little bit of discussion about it in chat. All right. So let's see. You looking to wrap this up soon, or you got some more time? How you doing?
I do need to start working on some videos, or at least making a plan of what videos I need to get done, and a couple other things, but get a couple more minutes in.
Yeah, we'll take about like 10, 15 more minutes to get to some questions. If you guys have your questions, this is the last opportunity to put them in chat for this week, and we'll answer them. So
So I should be on with FOMO tomorrow.
yeah, I think I'll be
Um,
on too.
okay.
I have to double check though.
Okay.
But yeah, we should be on the past the remote. If you guys aren't
Mhm.
subscribed to that channel, make sure you go check that out and subscribe to it. That's where FOMO and Be the Installer will be doing their live streams.
Yep. And then I have another channel that I opened. It's Classy Tech Streams, and we'll have some game streams with Miss Classy, as well as when I do streams. Once the channel gets big enough and has enough following, then I'll start doing my normal streams on that channel as well.
Cool. That sounds good. Yeah.
Mhm.
A gaming channel is something I'll
Mhm.
probably work on eventually. But I've got so much stuff to do on this channel, bro. I have so, I
Yeah.
have so much stuff. Like I'm so backed up
Mhm.
on videos. I gotta do this
Mhm.
Samsung Q90T update video still. I've got like this HDMI 2.1 cable that I gotta review still. I'm doing a capture card review. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, man.
Mhm.
It's like I can't even keep up, and I got a bunch of Hisense videos that I could still do, but I don't know. Do? Is that a priority? Probably not. And then yeah, I got so much side by side footage still that like I want so much videos that I want to put out about gaming. Um, I just don't know. I don't know when to put them out.
Yep. Yeah, I was sitting there looking through all the footage that I shot and haven't done anything with, and trying to think of which videos I should just cut out because I have not enough time to do everything that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Um, and Tom Wells, I was actually thinking earlier when you were asking about Smallville if anything to do with Tom Welling, but now, yep, you just confirmed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you see any more questions? Any more questions, guys? I don't, unless I missed them. Here we go. Do you think the C1 prices will go down as much as C10 prices next year? They're already kind of at C10 prices. Very close to C10 prices actually. Um, I think you'll probably see C10 prices on Black Friday.
Yep, probably.
Yeah.
Something too, just the 77-inch A80J, even though it has that $1,000 price drop, it
Hmm.
still has, I was told, roughly 30% markup.
Yep.
So that's how much range that they can still adjust if they need to.
Yeah, I see those 77-inch TVs going down for sure.
Yeah.
Probably like around 2,900, 2,800, something like that.
Mhm.
I've seen it at the PX for 3,200 before, so it's definitely possible. Right now they have the C1 for 3,000, so that's something you could probably look forward to being a sale that'll happen eventually. Um,
Justin Preble.
I see him. Okay. Going to upgrade my KS 8000 65-inch. Right now, I may be going for QN98. Any other suggestion options? I really want to try OLED A80J, but fear it might not be bright enough in my moderately lit room. Okay, what do you mean by moderately lit? Like, do you have any control over your lighting? And is your lighting kind of facing the TV, or is it just away from the TV? Because if it's behind the TV, you should be fine, right? It's just when the lighting is like directly at your TV, that's when you can get a more duller looking image. and usually it's like sunlight that does this. Ambient light doesn't seem to affect the OLEDs too much. Like you can get away with some ambient light. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I mean, if you're saying moderately lit, like what's behind me, this is as bright as this room gets, and I've not had any problem with it, other than that window. If it's that curtain's open, it's facing the screen, and even on the QN90A, I can't have that curtain open.
Yeah.
So that's kind of if you have a bright direct light onto even really any screen, personally, I wouldn't be able to watch it that way. But moderately lit like this, perfectly fine with the OLEDs. However, if you are happy with how the KS8000 looks, like that TV still looks good to you today, the QN90A is an upgrade that will look similar, but just boost everything like up to 12. Like that's pretty much what you're doing. You're just taking the KS8000, giving it better blacks, more brightness, more color, better motion. Like it's just a pure upgrade, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's a huge upgrade. Either TV you get is gonna be a huge upgrade. The jump in technology from that TV to what we have now is it's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. So I think you would be impressed either way you go. And especially if you've never owned an OLED, I think that's probably the way to go. Unless you definitely need that brightness. So
yeah, if you have that KS8000 and you typically have the backlight turned up really high, especially for SDR, then you might want to just stick with the QN90A because that's where the OLED's not going to match.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that you'll love the black levels of the QN90A coming from that TV. So you'll definitely see it as an upgrade. Looks like we have a super chat from Afseal. Is that how you say that? I don't know. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But with calibration being expensive, aside from your brightness video, anything you could do in another video to help us get the best picture without calibration? That question's for you, Classy.
Yeah. It's I mean, trying to think if there's really anything else.
You like contrast? Sometimes the contrast is a little too high or too low. I could see sometimes it's crushing.
So on the LG at 85, you're not clipping anything at all. And around 88, you start clipping colors. Around 97, you start clipping the white. So there's really not much. Just follow if you want accuracy, follow the settings video that I already have, just for what's most accurate. Otherwise, so when I do the G1 review, I'll probably do another video just going over some of the different stuff that you can do that's not accurate, that just it seems people would like. But just get some patterns, get the Spears and Munzel UHD if you have a UHD player, and just try to play around with it yourself and just try to look into it as much as you can if you're really that worried about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Looks like we have another question here. I have a $3,500 budget. Which TV should I get? Sony OLED, QN90A, or maybe something that hasn't come out yet? Thanks, guys. You're great. You guys are great. Okay, so I think like with that budget, it's definitely worth waiting, just maybe a little bit longer, and kind of see what this QNED situation looks like. See what the X95J situation looks like, and then kind of judge your environment, and figure out what that environment entails for your TV. Because if you're always in a dark room, I tend to go towards OLED no matter what, but if you're like in a medium lit room, you start to kind of bring in LCD as a consideration, and the QNED is, if it's on the level of QN90A, then you're gonna want to wait to see what's said about that. And Classy is gonna be reviewing the QNED 90, so that falls into that price range.
Yeah, I just don't know it's cheaper than that price range, and I think the QN90A and the A80J realistically are going to be better TVs.
Probably.
So if you have the 3,500 budget, I just have a hard time telling people not to get the A80J 77 at 3,500.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, the QN90A is 75 inch is $27.99. That's a good deal.
I didn't realize it dropped.
Yeah.
because I keep an eye on the 85 and saw it went back up to
Right,
like
yeah.
4,500 or something crazy.
It's back down to 4,000 again.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but
But that price that it was at, $35.99, that was a really good deal. Like,
I mean, there's not enough information here to know like what you're viewing, your environment, and all that. But
yeah, we would need more information, Alex. But it probably should wait just a little bit longer. Wouldn't hurt.
I know. See, I'm of the opposite. I think you might save a little bit of money if you wait, but you're also spending that time without the enjoyment.
True. But when I say wait, I mean like next week, like when you have your
Oh.
review out or something.
Okay, I just in this range, I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping the QNED 90 is very surprising. I'm hoping that it is,
I hope so
but
too.
like I said, I'm keeping expectations to where I think it's going to be more QN85A level.
Yeah. You know, I'm actually really hoping the AK is like something that blows people away. I don't think it will, but I
It's just
hope
so
it
much
is.
money.
Yeah, I hope it is though, because if it's justifiable to spend that much money on it, like, oh God, that'll be a good TV to keep for long term. You know, that'll be a good, like, buy it, forget about it. Maybe 8K is relevant in like 5 years, and you'll be like, oh, I'm glad I got an 8K TV. Maybe not though, but I just want to see 8K actually be worth it for a change, because right now it's not really worth it. So maybe LG could pull that off. I'm not hopeful though. I'm not hopeful for any of the QNED stuff, honestly. I got low expectations, so that's just how I feel. But I hope I'm wrong.
Brad Smith, that's just going to depend on the deal that I can get on it.
Yeah. And then as I play like 10 hours a day of FIFA, I should not consider an OLED, or should I go for an LED TV because of permanent burn-in? It's tough. Like, maybe. If you play 10 hours a day of FIFA, that could definitely wane over time, especially if you're like a die-hard FIFA player. If you don't like switch up your content from time to time, you'll eventually probably see burn-in, I imagine. But like I played 10 hours, like not 10 hours, okay. I played like maybe like 6 hours a day of like Madden Ultimate Team a few years back on my C7, and I never got burn-in from that. So I don't know.
I just say your literal only option should be G1, because then the burn-in's covered, and you can disable the dimming.
That's
So-
true. Yeah, if you're set on OLED, then get a G1. You got that
Yeah.
warranty.
Yeah, just don't worry about disable the dimming, and just don't worry about it. You get burn-in, then LG will take care of you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I keep forgetting about the 5-year warranty. I shouldn't though, because that's a good deal.
Just remember, was it parts that's covered, you got to pay labor, or is it labor that was covered, you got to pay parts? But either way, I'm sure you can get them to cover the whole thing, because they've been doing that for years on stuff that didn't have that warranty.
It looks like here's a question for you. It's talking about, can you please put together a toolkit of test patterns and demos that we can put on a USB, and how to use them, and what to look for on this TV for purchasing and showing off the goods of a bad TV, or of the good and the bad of a TV. Good
All
and
that
the
stuff
bad.
is already on AVS forum. You can get the IRE patterns to check the panel uniformity. You can get that pattern that was in my video today there. So just look around on AVS forum, and you can find all that kind of stuff there.
Yeah, thank you again, Afsteel, for the super chat. Let's see. I think it was labor that was not covered. That would make sense.
Yeah, parts covered and labor not, but even still, and worst case, you maybe pay a few $100 to get a whole new panel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious to see why you think this. If you're a gamer, keep the C10. What was that? Oh, here we go. This is a question. Keep my 65 clean C10 or pay the 450 for the A80J Series X owner. If it's clean, I'll just keep the C10, right?
Yeah, and I'm assuming you have no pink tint.
Yeah. Especially like if you most recently bought that C10, it's probably fine, man. Year to year TV buying, it hurts, you know? It hurts the wallet. So like unless you have a good way to like get rid of that TV and get a good amount back for it, I wouldn't do it. There's just not enough difference to justify it to me. From going to a C10 to an A80J, you know, or a C10 to a C1. There's not enough difference to pay that price of an upgrade. That's how I kind of feel about the QN90A too. I'm like, I like my Q90. I keep saying it because I do, but yeah, it's just tough to upgrade a TV when you just bought it last year. So
Yeah, I'm convinced there's someone in the chat that I can't see their comments that E-Rock is talking to.
it's definitely possible, man. I I don't know if that would not show up here. I don't know. Let's see. There was another question. I just was looking at it. If I missed your question, I'm sorry. Make sure you put it in the comments if I did miss it, or post it right here for the last 5 minutes or so of the stream. And hopefully we can get to it. Let's see. You see any
Yeah, then I
questions
gotta
that I
get going.
missed? Yeah.
I don't really see any more questions.
Nope. Okay. So that about wraps it up. So thank you guys for joining the stream. I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys missed any part of the stream, you can rewatch it at any time for the first couple days, and then I'm gonna take it down and we're gonna do stream highlights. That's probably how I'll do it going forward. I don't know if you're delisting streams now. I was thinking about it, but
I don't know. I don't think I'm at the point that I would need to do that.
yeah. Well, I thank you guys again for all the love, and those who super chatted, thank you again to you guys, and thank you to you guys for being here, asking questions. As always, I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you for joining Keep It Classy Tech. Always a pleasure to have you on, man. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow, right? Like on FOMO's stream, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless something comes up, I don't know, but I should be there. So go to Pass the Remote. Here, I'll link it. I'll link Pass the Remote so you guys can subscribe. And also, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you're not, for some reason, subscribe to it. And then also subscribe to Keep It Classy Tech's channel. Gonna link Pass the Remote for you guys right now so you can see it. And
I think I've been doing a lot of more technical kind of videos lately, so
yeah,
I'm pretty sure my next thing I'm working on is just the G1 review, and try to just focus on more typical type videos, and then go back into more technical stuff when I have more time. But I knew there was just a lot of people that were wanting some of that stuff, so that's what I came back and did after my vacation. And now I'm gonna, because I need to review the G1 just in case I end up getting rid of it soon, and then obviously the QNED next week.
Cool. Yeah. Looking forward to that. And here we go. Man, I don't know why I was struggling to find that, but hopefully you guys see that link. It is Pass the Remote. So that's FOMO's channel and Be the Installer's channel where they stream at. So you'll see us sometimes on that channel. So make sure you subscribe to that channel as well.
Yep.
Anything else you want to promote or say other than what you just said? You good?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, see most of you tomorrow, I assume.
Yeah, looking forward to the QNED video.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to get one yet.
I just hope it doesn't get delayed in shipment.
Yeah, I may get one. I don't know yet. I haven't decided, but yeah, leave your comments in the comment section if you guys have any ideas for us for a video, want to see something. We have like a bunch of footage of all the TVs we already checked out, so if you want to see more of something, let us know. And thank you for coming by. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully see you in the next one. Take care, guys.
All right. See ya.